Hey everyone, welcome to Pickleball and Beyond. My name's Ryan.
My name is Vino.
And today we're looking at the Mage from HUDEF in their Pro Series, which we're calling the Wizard's Wand. So Vino, let's hear your first thoughts on the Mage.
So HUDEF always really does good pedals for good prices.
Yes.
And I think they've done a great job again.
Yep, and I want to chime in, and I know I've seen this in the comments a lot, since we've had a lot of positive feedback on their paddles, and they're like, is it good for the price or is it just good? And I want to make sure that if this is
Yes.
outside of the price, every paddle we used of theirs, we've been thrilled with, and the Mage was,
and
fit right
I
in with
have
that.
I have switched to the Gen 2 as one of my primary paddles, and I mean we have access to a whole bunch of demo paddles, and I still go to that. So I think that's a really good point. Yes, they make good quality for good price, but I think they're right up there. For me, I mean HUDEF is right up there. Nice color.
They always switch which color they use on the
Yes,
outside.
yes.
So
Comes again with a nice case, very similar to all the other cases, so it comes with a nice case as well. This is their Pro Series. I think we're going to go a little bit more into specs because it's kind of a new paddle. As far as the height goes, it's 16 and 1/4, right? 7.5 as far as width goes. And the handle is just a smidge less than their Gen 2. So the Gen 2 measures at about 5.5, this comes at 5.25, but this also flares up a little bit early. So something to mention as we talk about playability, because I think it does affect that. And let's go straight into swing weight and twist weight, and we'll talk about it later. This actually comes at about 114, so really great swing weight. Twist weight around 6.3, so very forgiving as well. And for a thermoform paddle that really hits well, very impressed. So let's go into playability.
So starting, we like to rank a paddle. Is it like a power paddle, control paddle? And we throw this like smack dab in the middle.
Yes,
Calling it all
and we have been calling hybrid, and we have got some comments saying, hey, hybrid is a shape. So we're going to start calling this in between all-around paddles. This is an ideal all-around paddle. Got good control, got good power. So let's start with the kitchen control. What are your thoughts?
So from the kitchen, I really liked it. I mean, compared to the Gen 2, the Gen 2, you could feel that dwell time in the kitchen where it's nice and soft. You could place dinks pretty well. But this is an extra step up from that. Definitely. It's not like the Apex, where the Apex is super soft.
And if we're going to call this a little bit more power, a little bit more control, this is again right at that center.
Right in the middle.
We will do a video soon on this, so expect that coming out as well. But it's right. And what I liked about this compared to the Gen 2, just a smidge, you could control the placement just a little bit better. And we'll talk more about the spin. I love the spin on this. So even when you dink,
that helped from the kitchen.
It helps. It really helps, because especially if you're giving it a little bit more spin, if you're cutting a little bit more, you had a little bit more control. And whenever we talk about spin, we talk about the dwell spin, where it stays and spins, the slower one, and it's just popping out. This does well on both. So on your control, in your dinking, if you're cutting, if you're spinning it, and we'll show some videos, it's really nice. It's very sweet.
Really catchy. Really catchy. Gets the revolution.
So let's take one step back, and you were hitting really well with this, the transition, your drops. How did you like it?
So it took me just a little to get used to the drops. I needed to put just a little more oomph than I was expecting. But after I was able to, make that slight adjustment, it really feels like there's a nice layer of control to it. It absorbs it well. And minute differences, you can feel it. And once I made that proper correction, I was playing, really well, hitting my drops super well.
And something I enjoyed watching you while we played this is yet another paddle where you can drive it well. And you can control and do the third shots and resets very well.
Which is super important.
Which is really nice, right?
Well, all around it.
Yes, and I think that's where it cuts, because sometimes you get some really good paddles where you can really drive, but then when you're trying to reset it or hit a really nice soft drop shot, then you have to take a step back. With this comes very naturally.
So the last step I want to touch on with control would be as far as resets go. That's where I absolutely loved it. It really absorbs the ball well, and that was the reason I didn't personally switch to the Gen 2. As much as I loved it, it's from the kitchen, it's nice on softer ones. You can feel that nice touch, but it's a little tough to get some of those resets, where the Mage, it does a great job at handling them.
And I'm just going to piggyback on that, because when we were playing this, we were switching a few paddles, and then you were at the back hitting with a different paddle really hard, and I had picked this up, and I would just touch it and it'll really nicely fall. If you cut it a little bit, it just gave you this extra top spin where it almost dropped, right? So I'm very impressed on that side. Let's talk about power.
Yeah, so going into the power, it's, you know, there's a whole spectrum of paddles. they fall everywhere, but it hits hard, but it's, you know, I hate to always refer to like some of the hardest hitting paddles in the game, but like we've used the bread and butter filth a lot. I'd still say that hits harder. The Gen 2 definitely hits harder. It's a notch harder, but it's still, I'd say it offers a good amount of power. That's how I would phrase it.
And I think this is one of those paddles, if you know how to hit hard, you're fine. If you are just looking for a paddle that naturally hit hard, like the Power Air or something like that, that's just a power.
That's a phenomenal.
Exactly, right? But if you know how to hit hard, like there were some smashes and stuff like that, it just ripped. You didn't even realize you hit it at the center, it ripped. And again, hitting back, this has a very forgiving sweet spot. Compared to this one like has a great shot, but it's a little bit smaller than this. So even if you off-center just a smidge, and I think it's also that shape and everything like that, it really hits. It just takes with it. It carries with that.
And so sticking along the power, I think you brought up a really good point I wanted to touch on, is if you're the only person that I think shouldn't use this paddle is if you're looking for something with a lot of pop. So if you're really struggling to generate that any power at all, then maybe this paddle wouldn't be you. But outside of that, if you're looking, it helped me personally, like keeping the ball low, so making sure I'm not popping anything up on accident. Like you said, on drives or any overheads, it generates plenty of power. It's just not that it doesn't have that pop to it like a Legacy Pro, for example.
And especially if you have been playing for some time and you are looking for an upgrade that has power but still has control, I think you really should look at this. This is just, it's a really great transition, because there are lots of people that start off with a really good control paddle, they want a power paddle, and now they are all over this place because they can't control it. I think this has both of that. So from an adaptability point of view, I think this was one of the easiest paddles to adapt that had that thermoform feature, still had the power, still had that control, and it was a wizard at spin, and I think we have to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, even playing with it today, and I used it yesterday a lot, I was getting comments on just my serve alone, how much topspin I was getting on my dinks with the backhand.
It has this, it grabs it and turns that topspin so much that once it hits, it just stays so much low. It's very hard to read it, because you think the ball's going to come up, especially if you catch the edges. It just topspin just stays low. It's very hard to read. So it generates a lot of topspin. There were some serve videos as well. Usually when I serve, either the slow ones will cut and the fast ones won't go, or the fast ones will cut and the slow ones won't go. This did both really well. So
it's super helpful outside of the serve example. As far as if there is like a slow ball coming in that you want to hit like a drop shot on, be really easy to get that backspin on it. Or if the ball's even flying at you, like it's still, if you're putting a drive on the ball, like it generates it on those really hard shots as well, and it's some of the most spin I've seen out of a paddle.
And I think that's like, remember, you attenuate on, like if someone gives you a really good backspin and it's a top spin, it's easy for you to take and make more topspin on that. This shines on that. It actually, it got more spin than both of these paddles for sure. The Apex definitely didn't get a whole lot of spin. You get a good amount on the Gen 2, but this was another step. I would almost give it a step or two as far as spin goes. Again, they always bring great value for money. Use our discount code. We get 10% off on that. We'll put the prices on this. We were very impressed with this. So if you want to try out this paddle, they're releasing it in December. Excited for another paddle of theirs. Thank you for joining us on this video. Please subscribe, please comment. We love hearing from you guys. Hope to see you in another video.